like that's the fun thing. All the tracks we go to this year, I will be like brand new to me, but this one is the one I have the advantage. So this is my track. But yeah, then with the 2 day testing, everyone gets up to speed, which is not fair. Can I play this as my advantage? But yeah, it's fun to come back. It's one of my favorite tracks on the F1 calendar. It's really a good track. So it's I think it's great for IndyCar to go here as well.
So how much are you looking forward to this new challenge in your career?
I can't wait. It's really like a fresh start for me, and obviously after 5 years in Formula One, it's something completely new, and I go in with an open mind, and humble to the challenge.
You've had 2 tests in this car now. What's been the biggest surprise?
Surprise? I don't know. I mean, I was expecting it to be quite different, and it's been very different to drive the IndyCar compared to the Formula One. The grip levels is quite a lot down compared to the Formula One of today, but it is a lot of fun just because of that. So the car is moving around a lot, so you have to work a lot on the steering wheel and fight the car quite a lot in the corners, and so it's still an impressive car, but just in a very different way. And I think that's been the sort of biggest thing to get used to, and get used to driving cars like that again after driving such high downforce cars that I've been doing the last few years.
So what is, a lot of people make an issue about how some Formula One drivers kind of look down at IndyCar racing as a series. I know when Fernando came over here 2 years ago, there were some people that made comments, well, we only have to beat 2 guys. What is the real perception?
I think it's been growing a lot the last few years, and I think what Fernando did, that he went over here, helped that, but also what Alex Rossi came over here and has been doing well. So I think from my view, IndyCar has been growing interest in Europe and Formula One over the last few years a lot, and I would say that drivers over in Europe respect IndyCar a lot. I don't know how it was 10 years ago, but now for sure I think it has a good, it's strong in Europe as well.
What's the main appeal for you? Because you probably had options when Sauber ended. What was the biggest appeal of coming to IndyCar for you as a driver?
I wanted to stay in the highest possible sort of category of racing, and for me, outside Formula One, that's IndyCar. I think the cars are impressive, but also the series as a whole has a lot of talented drivers. The calendar is really also exciting. We have different types of racing, different types of tracks. So for me, IndyCar was the first choice, and then also the fact that it's a one-spec series is something that's, as a driver, is super exciting. You know that every weekend you can either win or you can be P20, depending on how good you and your team are doing. Whereas in Formula One, it's more a couple of cars you're fighting, every weekend, and that's a big difference that you as a driver, gets you really going.
So I guess from that standpoint, I mean, talent is more or less kind of hidden in F1, whereas here you have a chance to really kind of shine that talent just because everything is so finite in IndyCar.
Yeah, I think Formula One is different that way, that you're only as good as the car you're in to some extent, and obviously in IndyCar you still have to have a good car and a good team around you to set it up for every event, and every different track. But it's a lot more a driver's championship, and I think that's something when you do a lot of years in Formula One, that's something that you miss, that element that you can, as a driver, make a difference. So that's something I'm really excited about.
What about ovals? Like we were talking to Max, and I asked him about it, because he kind of came over from that world that you came from. So when you're getting ready to go to ovals, do you look at that as a superior, daunting situation? How often are you kind of looking at James to talk to about that, or Max, or other people who maybe kind of like Max that have come over like you have?
I think I'm gonna try and sort of lean on James there, because he's obviously my teammate, and he seemed like a very easy guy to work with, and I think with his experience, he's also been very successful on the ovals over the years. So I will try and sort of get as much information as possible out of him. and then just go into it with a very sort of open mindset and just try and learn as much as possible and then, you know, get up to speed. But I'm excited about it. I think it will be fun. I've always over my career being like all the tracks have a lot of high-speed corners. It's my type of tracks because that's what I enjoy the most. And, you know, that's why I think the oval racing is something that will suit me and my type of driving.
So you know this track better than anybody else in IndyCar at the moment. If you could tell us where the challenging aspects of the track are, I know a lot of people talk about going up to the uphand turn one that drops off and all that, but what do you find the most challenging areas of this track?
I think the first sector with all the high-speed content that reminds a lot of Suzuka first sector. That's gonna be, you can see people doing different lines there, and you need to trust the car to bring the speed through that section, and it's very difficult technical wise because you as a driver you need to hit every apex. You know, if you miss one, you're out of sync for the next 7 or 8 corners. So that section is very tricky. And also in the middle of the lap, I don't know exactly the turns, but I think it's 13 and 14. It's like a double right into the tight left-hander in the middle of the lap. That's a section where, from my experience, you can really make or break a lot of lap time if you get that right or wrong. So for me, that's the 2 biggest sort of challenges of the track.
And Robert came in here last year as a rookie with a lot of experience and was fast right off the bat. Can you be this year's version of him?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I mean, I'm not coming here to be P20. I'm coming here to be fighting at the top, and that's my goal.
You've run a lot of the world's major races with a ton of attention, and like Monaco, just a zoo all weekend. But has anybody talked to you or thought at all about the month of May? It's 2 races in 1 month, basically 3 weeks at this, 2.5 weeks at the same track. Your thoughts about your preparation for that?
It will be an amazing experience, and I'm really excited about doing the whole month of May. And yeah, I spoke a bit about it with Fernando when I was announced for IndyCar last year, and he said, you know, you will love it. It's going to be an amazing experience. So yeah, everyone I've been speaking about it, like Alex Rossi and these guys, you know, they all say it's such a special event. So yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Kind of talking about the test here, but also racing here. Even though you have all that experience, it's all in an F1 car. So how much of it do you have to go in there and just kind of hit the reset button to not take maybe the same lines that you got used to in an F1 car?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the interesting thing tomorrow, because obviously I have a lot of knowledge of the track and how it's like the quickest way to drive an F1 car around there. But I think it's important, like you say, to have a bit of a open mind there as well, because if you go in only with that mindset, you might miss out. So I think I need to learn how this car works on this track, but I still feel like the experience I have from the track will be an advantage for me. But I'm sure there's some corners that you have to drive differently in an IndyCar compared to a Formula 1.
So last year there were no drivers from Sweden in the series. Now there's 2. So, and I know that Sweden's had a lot of, from Kenny Breck and Stefan Johansson. They've had a pretty good heritage of IndyCar drivers. What's it like bringing IndyCar back to Sweden?
It's fun. I think I have a lot of following since my years in Formula 1 from back home, and now with both me and Felix in the series, it's going to be really good. For the interest in Sweden, obviously, and already, a lot of people back home is super excited about this year, and to follow me and Felix in IndyCar. So I think that's great.
Have you done any simulator work to kind of get used to the changeover to this car?
Yeah, I've done a few days in the simulator in Indianapolis. And,
at Dallara?
No, Honda.
At Honda?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's not the same simulator? It's not their Speedway?
HPD's got
Their own?
Yeah.
Okay, and how does that compare to the car? Have you had a chance to kind of see, does it relate closely?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, I would say the simulator they have there is pretty accurate. So it's a good tool for me to learn the new tracks and sort of get up to speed driving an IndyCar. So I will try and use that tool as much as possible.
Well, I think you'll be pleased. The bump in 1910 and 12 are all cleared out now.
Oh, really?
And so that'll be set. But A lot of this, I'm curious, Mario Andretti said he related somewhat to Magnus Beckett in the Fast S's. Do you see that the same way? Is there any transference of knowledge that you're gonna be able to take into this car?
Yeah, I think for me the first sector here reminds me a lot of Suzuka, and Suzuka for me is like the best track in the world. So that's why I always enjoy coming here to Austin. It's a fun track, and I've done, is it 5 years now? Or?
Mhm. You were sitting with me 6 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been a few years now. So yeah, it's a track, like I said, I always enjoy driving, and always been quite strong around here as well. So yeah, looking forward to get out there this week.
Mr. Marcus?
All these years that Formula One came to Austin, to Texas, you know, I know that a lot of people in Europe, when they think of the United States, they think of New York City, or they think LA, they think of Hollywood, they maybe even think of Vegas. What was it like coming to Texas? Because that's really, truly the, I guess you would say, the heartland of the United States.
I've loved it every time here. I think Austin is a great city, and you know, it has a great amount of restaurants and bars and stuff to explore, and the music scene is really impressive. So many cool little spots with live music to hang out at. So I always enjoyed Austin a lot, and I try around the race here in Formula One. I always came out a bit early to enjoy the city, and sometimes stayed a couple of days after as well. So it's a really cool place. So I enjoy coming.
And is IndyCar going to find this area to be, well, you haven't been to Texas Motor Speedway yet, but really more of Texas than Dallas?
I don't know. I've never been to Dallas, so I don't know.
Well, you will be in June, so
Yeah.
I'll save that question for you.
Yeah.
Anything else? All right, very
All right.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Sandwich.
guys.